Well, welcome to Choosing Plants. My name is Heather, and this is the channel where I follow a 30-day vegan challenge from 1 month to the next to try and see what type of lifestyles are convenient, sustainable, easy, hard, all that kind of thing. So today we're doing a recipe video. So the recipe that we're going to do is called corn and red pepper soup with sweet potatoes and kale. There's a lot of ingredients going on here, guys. So we're gonna break it down into pieces. This recipe comes from Dr. Furman's website, and it's not actually one of Dr. Furman's recipes. It's one of the people that posts stuff on here pretty frequently. So his name is James Rohrbacher, I believe. It's Rohrbacher. So if you wanted to look this up, I'm not sure if it's available on the internet. I do belong to Dr. Furman's website. I have to say that if you are going to belong to any kind of a group that you want to have recipes from, that's actually a really good one to belong to, because they're like, all of his soup recipes that we've tried have been so awesome. So we're going to show you what we're going to do is actually cook part of the recipe and then blend that and then cook another part of the recipe. So I'm going to show you the first step and the first part of what it is. I've already got some of the things chopped up ready to go, so I can then chop some more as I'm waiting for that stuff to cook. So let's go check it out. Alrighty guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a large soup pot and we're going to saute. What I'm actually going to do is put in this bag of roasted corn, and I actually need approximately 2 bags of corn for this recipe. So I'm going to use this one to put in the pot first, and right here I have 4 red peppers chopped up, and I also have a very large onion chopped up, and it calls for, actually the recipe calls for 2 small mild red chilies, or hotter depending upon your flavor preference, and I am not about chopping that, so there is mild green chilies diced. I'm actually going to have my husband try that for me before I put it in there to see how spicy they are. If they're spicy, I'll probably use like about 1/3 of that can rather than the whole can, because I don't really do spicy. So we're going to put this in a pot with just a really small amount of water. We're going to saute it for a little bit until it starts getting lightly browned, and then after that we're going to add some water and some broth. And his recipes are always very low sodium, which is awesome, but I'm going to use the Better Than Bouillon No Chicken base to make the broth, so it won't actually be as low sodium, but the amount of soup that this is going to make is not going to be a problem for the amount of broth that I add, because you add some water and you add some broth. So that's what I'm going to do, and when that is done simmering for 15 minutes, I will let you guys know what the next step is. Okay guys, so the peppers and the onions and corn have been cooking for a little while here, and they are actually turning a nice color. The peppers are starting to look like they're getting a little bit cooked. So if you want to take a peek in here, this is what it looks like right now. And what I'm going to add next is going to be the cashews and the broth, and then we're going to cook it for 15 minutes. So here's the cashews. It just says to use a cup of cashews, and so that's about what's left in here. There's probably not quite a cup left, but I'm going to use what I have left, and that'll be just fine. So I'm just going to dump that in there, and then I'm going to put in the broth. So I have 8 cups of water in here, and I put in enough to make 4 cups of broth. So let's pour that in. Oh, and some of the bouillon's in the bottom. Can you see that? What a bummer. We'll get that out of there. Okay. So now we officially have soup. It's liquidy. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring this to a boil, and we're going to let it cook for 15 minutes, and then we're going to just put it on the back burner and let it cool down a little bit, which if you were using a stand blender, you would need to let it cool down so that you don't explode everywhere, and that would be a big old mess. But as I've told you guys, I don't know probably how many times now, immersion blenders are the way to go. They're awesome. So I'm going to actually blend it with an immersion blender, and so long as you don't pull the wand up out of the soup stock, you'll be fine. If you pull it up and it splatters everywhere, it might burn you, and that would be a bummer. But if you leave it below the surface level of whatever you have in your pot or your bowl, whatever, it will be just fine. So this is going to cook for 15 minutes. We're going to let it simmer and boil, and then I will be back with you to show you the next step in just a little bit. Okay guys, so there is approximately 10 minutes left on the pot of soup that is boiling, or simmering actually, on the stove. And what I'm going to do now is add the next set of ingredients into a larger pot, and these ingredients actually do not get blended. So we've got over here, we've got some corn. That's the rest of the remaining corn, which is probably about a cup more than what the recipe called for, but I don't see that as being a problem. Got 2 large sweet potatoes chopped up into bite-sized chunks. we'll go with about a pound of mushrooms. It's probably a little bit less, to be honest with you. And then there was 2 remaining red peppers in the recipe that I have also chopped up. So we're going to put all of this into the pot and we're going to let it cook. And what the recipe says is to cook until the mushrooms release their juices. So that should be interesting to see. Yeah, so we're going to go and just start that because who knows how long that's going to take. Mushrooms sometimes take a long time to cook for some reason. So anyway, in the stock pot it goes, and I will talk to you guys and let you see what it looks like in just a few minutes. Okay, so here are the veggies as I have put them into the pot, and they are going to cook and release their juices. And once they start doing that, then we have to cook it for a certain amount of time and add some more stuff to it and all that good stuff. This is a somewhat complex soup in terms of, well, I don't usually make a pot of soup that requires 2 pots to make. That's unusual. And I don't know, it does have a lot of ingredients that require chopping. So this might be kind of one of those community projects where you have maybe your mom comes over or your girlfriend comes over or someone comes over and, hey, let's chop some vegetables up and make a really delicious soup. That is provided that it's delicious. We shall see. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys in a little bit after this gets cooking, and I will show you what's going to be added to the pot as we go. Okay guys, so this is what the soup looks like when it's done. It's been boiling for 15 minutes. You can see that those cashews in there have really, really plumped up. They're beautiful looking. And what you're supposed to do now is to blend this. And if you absolutely have to and you want to put it into a countertop blender, you are welcome to do that. That is fine. But just remember, you really should almost cool this down to room temperature before you do that because it can be very dangerous. I've done it. It explodes. It's not fun. So this is the immersion blender. And yes, I'm sorry, mine is pink. The one that I recommend all the time for you guys is actually a 500 watt engine on it, and it's awesome. My mom has one. Super, super nice. But this one does well too. This one works. It fills the bill, and then when this one's no longer, I will be getting an upgrade. So anyway, here we go. We're going to blend up the soup, and you guys can watch this little guy in action. So as you can see, it doesn't really look like it's doing anything to start with, but just keep watching, guys. It'll get pretty impressive here pretty quick. It'll be creamy. Okay, so you can keep going with this until it's perfectly smooth if you want to. I actually kind of like the way that it looks right now. It has a very small amount of, like you can see a tiny little bit of the pepper chunks, a tiny little bit of the corn chunks. This will actually make it completely smooth if you keep blending it. It absolutely will. I think that I like it the way that it is. I don't think I want it any smoother than that. Yeah, and that always happens to this guy. He's not quite powerful enough to get the rest of the junk off of the bottom of it. So, yeah, that is beautiful. That is a beautiful vegetable stock. So, okay, that's what that's going to do. This pot right here is cooking nicely. We're going to mix it up a little bit again. And we're going to continue to let this cook, and I will show you what goes in here after a bit. If you take a look at the mushrooms in here, you can see that they are definitely getting soft. I believe that might be the equivalent of releasing their juices. Not 100% sure. But now we are going to add, oh, I'm fogging up my camera. Now we are going to add the zucchini and the kale and mix that in, and then it's going to cook for 8 to 10 minutes until the sweet potatoes are completely soft, or I guess as soft as you want them to be in a soup. So I will show you the zucchini and the kale, and then show you what it looks like all mixed together. So here's the zucchini, and we actually, it calls for 2 small, and I just went ahead and used 1 large to medium. And it also calls for kale, and we used the purple kale because we already had some green in the zucchini, and we've got red and yellow in the purple. This soup is just such a beautiful array of colors. We decided that we would go ahead and use the purple kale. So let's go add that. So here we put all of the kale into the pot and the zucchini, and we're just going to mix it up and let it cook for 8 to 10 minutes until the sweet potatoes are cooked. And then we'll be putting in some spices and blending things together, and it's going to be this beautiful, gorgeous looking, colorful soup. Yay! So this is what it looks like when it is completely done, and it's beautiful and it's super colorful. Some of the zucchini don't look like they're quite as cooked as some of the other zucchini. I'm not too worried about that. It's going to be fine because it's going to have to be warmed up in order to be eaten. And so here is the cooked vegetable part, and my partner in crime now is going to pour the liquid soup into there. Do you want to put the chunks into the other one?
Probably be easier than trying to
Okay,
pour that.
that's fine. We're going to do it in a reverse order. We're going to put this into there and go. Okay, here we're going to mix this up. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. This sure is pretty. I sure hope it tastes as good as it looks. Okay, so we've got this nice, beautiful pot of mixed up soup. And the next thing that we're going to do is add 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast to the batch. And we're going to shake in some black pepper. So I'm going to do that, mix it together really well, and then I'm going to get a bowl out and try it for you guys and let you know what I think. Alrighty guys, so the soup is all put together, and it is quite lovely looking. And it smells delicious, so we're going to give it a try and see what we think. It's very hot. That is fabulous. That tastes delicious. The sweet potatoes are just a touch, excuse me, undercooked. I needed to have cooked those a little bit longer. I should have tried that before I decided that the vegetables were done. However, this is going to go in the refrigerator and then be microwaved, so it'll probably be just absolutely fine by the time they get done being microwaved. So yeah, I will get a better picture of this soup for you to look at, but it tastes great. I would highly recommend that you make this. Like I said, it is a little labor intensive, and especially with the whole 2-pot thing, but absolutely without a doubt, you should definitely try this. If you have some help to make it, that would be great. And if you're going to make it for yourself, it makes a huge batch. So, huge batch. But yeah, this is really, really good. You know, I should let me blow a little bit off and have my one kiddo taste it, and so you can get another opinion. Okay, Connor, come here. Alrighty guys, this is my 9-year-old Connor. Okay, be honest. What do you think about this?
Tastes just like the cheese soup that you made it before.
It tastes like a cheese soup. Excellent. So you like that? It's pretty tasty?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your honest opinion, my friend.
Bye.
So there you have it from the 9-year-old. It tastes like a cheese soup. Cool. I do have a recipe for a beer cheese soup that I have veganized that is really unhealthy and super delicious. But yeah, it's not healthy. Yeah, this is really good. So I would highly suggest that you make it. Cheers.